Hello again, folks. This is Barry with Barry's 8-track and classic car radio repair. And today's victim is going to be an AM-8 track out of a 1970 Chevelle SS, which I've always thought was a super cool looking car. In fact, that's the model that I've got on my big old poster board when I was advertising at car shows and stuff. Anyway, this has been converted to modern electronics. It now has FM, of course, and 4 speaker outputs for true stereo sound. And this customer requested the external in-out box. So we've got our line input jacks here, and then we've got the 4-channel preamp outputs plus a subwoofer output right there. So that's a kind of a neat little feature. And a couple things that I need to point out on this, especially this particular model, is these tuner push buttons. They're very thin, and after 40 or 50 years they can become very brittle. So it's really, really important when you're pressing these buttons to go straight in with it. You don't want to have any downward or upward motion when you're pushing these buttons in, or they could just break right off. And to make matters worse, the eject button, which I don't recommend using because that's quite a strain on that brittle plastic. That eject button has kind of a downward slant on the front of it, which if you're pushing it straight on, it's real easy to especially push this one downward, which you don't want to do. So just a little food for thought there. And then one more thing that I don't recommend doing with these thin push buttons is going from one extreme of the dial to the other, because that naturally it's got to drag that pointer all the way across, and that's a little bit more strain on those buttons. So I would recommend, if you want to go from this button to the very end one, not a bad idea to go ahead and just hit one in between there, so that none of the buttons have a whole lot of burden to pull that dial pointer across. So I think that's about the only precautions I need to point out on this on that model. So we'll just go ahead and turn her on. I've got it set to FM at the moment, so let's turn her on. Get some FM radio going on here. Oh, and you might notice that originally this was the tape indicator, indicating that there's a tape in there. I think it's pretty easy to see whether there's a tape in there or not, so I thought it better to convert this to an FM stereo light, so now it'll only light when there's an FM station being received. So there's that. Okay, real quick, we'll just go through all the push buttons, which I already have set to FM stations.
To influence how House Republicans vote, how much.
Alright. We're going to test our dial light. You see a dial light flashing on and off. And now let's switch it over to AM real quick. And we do that by turning it off and then right back on. Now we're on AM. And we're going to tune to the one good station we get.
When the city coffers
Now there's another one that we gets a little bit sometimes. And there's our strong AM station.
Provide the American, well, not just the Intelligence Committee.
And naturally, you can use the push buttons for either AM or FM stations. All right, let's go back to FM just for fun. Okay, we should be back on FM now. And there's our FM stereo light coming on, so we're back on FM. Let's bring our output level meters into the picture so that we can demonstrate the virtual balance and fader functions. Okay. You can see that we're fairly equally balanced on the speakers now. To activate the virtual front rear fader, we're going to give the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn our tone control to roughly the center position, and that gives us room to rotate it in either direction. Now to activate the front rear fader, we're going to rotate this twice to the right, each time bringing it back to center. When it activates, you're going to hear 4 beeps through the speakers, and right after those beeps, you can use that tone control to adjust the front rear fading action. So let's go ahead and activate that. Okay, there's our beeps, 4 beeps. Okay, and now we're adjusting. There's rear only, front only, rear only. And it looks like our left-right balance is a little bit off, so we'll adjust that next. Front only, rear only, front only, rear only, and about equal there. Okay, one beep and it times out, and now this is just the tone control again. You can mentioned here, going from bass to treble. Okay, now let's activate the virtual left-right balance control. Same procedure, except we rotate the tone control twice to the left to activate it. So here we go. Here's our 4 beeps. Okay, and now we're adjusting left-right balance. Right only, left only, right only. Okay, let's adjust them for pretty equal balance there. Take our hand off the control. Okay, 1 beep and that function is now timed out, and it remembers the settings, and that's what the 1 beep indicates. And now we can turn our tone control back to how we like it to sound, which in my case is pretty much all the way clockwise for maximum treble. And speaking of treble, you're about to hear the most treble you've ever heard from an 8-track player. This is my own special hand-built preamp that I've designed to build into these conversions to make the 8-track sound best. And 8-tracks, as you might know, are notorious for not having a lot of treble and for sounding kind of muddy. So that's one thing that my hand-built preamp has striven to overcome, is to filter out some of that annoying low bass rumble and let more of the high frequencies come through. So let's go ahead and pop some Paul Simon in there and listen to old Paul. And in fact, let's go back to our unit. There we are. And we got some Paul Simon. We're just going to pop him in there. Now, is that bright or what? And that's probably going to be a little bit too bright on a tape that's not too worn. So we'll just back that tone control back a little bit, take out some of that treble. And now it sounds a little bit more like an 8-track tape. Let's switch tracks. Okay, that's about what an 8-track normally sounds like. But we've got plenty more reserve treble.
And get yourself free.
Okay, that's a bad place in the tape. We're not going to get too much activity after this. Okay, we must be getting close to an automatic track change because all the tracks are blank at the moment, so we'll just let it switch. Okay, there it goes. It just switched tracks by itself. And I could actually get even more treble out of it, but I didn't want to. We want to give it a little bit of room on the tone control to add more bass and take out some of that treble. And once again, that's how much treble we can get. And on older tapes, you're going to want that extra treble. So that's why I made that's why I made it so flexible in that respect. On a lot of tapes, you'll want to back that tone control down a little bit to reduce the treble. But on older tapes that have a lot of wear on them, you're going to want a lot more treble than the tape has. So that my hand-built preamp helps bring that out. So that tests all the functions. We've got the AM and the FM. We've demonstrated the virtual balance and fader controls. Needless to say, the existing fader control is not used because most of them don't work anymore because of their self-destructive nature. So we reassign that function to the tone control. So
ladies, do you have a favorite necklace or bracelet you don't?
Everything's cool. She's ready to go back to the customer. This was for Joe W. in, let's see, Joe is in Dallas, Texas. Okay, the Lone Star State. So we're going to turn this thing off. Everything's tested. We're going to see if we can find me again. Okay, that's not me, but I bet we'll find me right about here. This is Barry with Barry's 8-Track and Classic Car Radio Repair. If you have a radio or 8-track in need of service or a conversion to FM with the possibilities of adding also Bluetooth and USB, you can reach me directly at 928-533-9666. My website is in the description below, and thank you very much for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.
Having fun, driving my classic ride. Got a Mustang, buddy, it's a 69, but she ain't sounding so fine. Driving this car, I can't hear the guitar, and all my tapes run slow too. Radio smoking, 8-track deck's broken. What can I do? Send it to 8-track repair center. 8-track repair center. 8-track repair center.com.